Friday show on tap for you. You'll meet the newest Bison transfer, plus Moorhead's official unauthorized hockey book debuts this weekend. Hot Mike starts now.
Hot Mike with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. I was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mike. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Friday morning. Welcome to the It's Outta Here edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra. KSFL TV, good morning, everybody in Sioux Falls, KMBN in Western South Dakota, and all parts in between at Inforum.com. Happy Friday, everybody. For some of you, this is it for the year. Lucky son of a guns. For the rest of us, we're still working. We're still working next week. Welcome to the show on this 19th of December, 2025. It's a big day, I know, for the Jackman today. Today, they're doing gingerbread cookies at school. My wife's going up because you don't want me anywhere near that. That's not a good scenario whatsoever. So, Mom is going over for that today. But this is it. They're done. So after that, they have 2 weeks off after today. The longest I ever got was like 10. They got like 16 days here, which is crazy. But they'll enjoy that, I'm sure, starting officially tomorrow for those. And for those also that are taking off until the, the 5th of the year, because we're back on a Monday, more power to you on that. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our show. We got a lot to unpack here on a busy Friday, on the day before the day, semifinal Saturday tomorrow in FCS football. For those that follow big boy football, the college football playoff begins tonight. We got 1 game tonight, 3 tomorrow. You got a big slate of NFL games, obviously Packers-Bears tomorrow night at Soldier Field in anticipation of a great NFL weekend, which we'll get to. It started with a heart-stopper last night in Seattle. And on top of that, we've got huge high school games around the area. We're televising a couple tonight in basketball, hockey going on. So, yeah, there's no shortage of events to get us ready between now and Christmas. I think, what did I see? We're on day 9 of 23 of football days in a row where there's a football game being played. Because we got one every day of the week with bowl games happening. We had one last night. Shout out to Mo State. Fell to Arkansas State in the Xbox Bowl. It was played at the Star in Frisco. Mo State's first year in FBS football ends with a trip to Frisco, ironically enough. But they came up short to the Red Wolves, and now they'll have a change there with Ryan Beard is leaving to take the Coastal Carolina job. So there'll be a new man running things. Looks like the SMU OC is taking the job at Mo State. All right, let's get it rolling here because we got lots to get, including some breaking Bison football news to chat about. Actually, I just got off the phone with the head football coach as we were getting on the air this morning. We'll begin with the thriller last night in Seattle. The Rams and Seahawks. Simply put this here. First place on the line, not only in the division, first place on the line in the NFC. Home field advantage, all of that goes to the winner of last night's game, and it had everything you could want and then some. We'll pick it up. It's 13-7 Rams in the second half when Kenneth Walker gets loose down the sideline. He'll get in for a touchdown. That gives the Seahawks a 14-13 lead. We'll pick it up now. It's 16-14 Rams when Sam Darnold throws it. It's intercepted by Josh Wallace. Wallace goes down the side, nearly returns it for a touchdown. Sam reminding me of his Jets days and actually how he looked at the end of the year for the Vikings. The Rams would punch it in on this Blake Corum touchdown run. Rams go up now. It's 23-14 L.A. Now we move to the third, late in the third. Look at this throw from Stafford to Puka Nacua, who had an unbelievable game last night. That goes for 58 yards. The Rams are in business. Move to the fourth. Look at the no-look throw from Stafford to Nacua for the touchdown. Rams go up by 2 scores, and you're thinking, all right, well, good night, Seattle. They're down 16. They have never come back from a 16-point deficit in the history of their franchise. And then they have a play like this where Stafford gets picked off by Kobe Turner at the goal line. The big man gets it all the way back out to the 11-yard line. Another critical, I don't know what Sam was doing there. He threw it right to him. His 6th interception against the Rams. But Seattle gets some help here on a punt return. Rashid Shaheed goes down the sideline, stays in bounds. He gets in for a touchdown. They get the 2-point conversion. Now it's 30-22. Seahawks get a stop. They get the ball back. Darnold rolls out. A.J. Barner wide open for a touchdown. That's a heck of a catch, by the way. He extends for that. Now it's 30-28, so they have to go for 2. Controversy reigns here. This pass initially looks incomplete, and the Rams get a stop. But watch, as Zach Charbonnet will pick up the ball. They reviewed this. Got to give Terry McCauley, who was the official upstairs, that this was a backwards pass. That's a lateral, and because Charbonnet picked it up in the end zone, that counts as the 2-pointer, and the game is now tied at 30. The Rams drive to attempt a field goal. Harrison Mevis from 48. It's no good. So the Rams get no points. Seattle remains tied here with 4.5 minutes to go. We stay tied, so we go to overtime. Opening possession. Rams go with a zinger from Stafford. This looks identical to earlier in the game. Stafford and Nakua for the touchdown. 41 yards. It's 37-30 in favor of L.A. Seahawks now, obviously, they know they need a touchdown and at least an extra point to keep the game going. This is a heck of a throw from Darnold. Our guy Cooper Kupp is still making plays. A toe tap catch that only he can do and keeps the Seahawks in business. Now from the 4-yard line, Darnold over the middle. That's a touchdown to Jackson Smith-Njigba, who was quiet in the first half, was pretty loud in the second half. Seahawks make no hesitation. They're going to go for 2. Eric Saubert, former Drake Bulldog. We love the FCS guys. He gets the game-winning play. Even Swoop was out there to celebrate for the Seahawks. Seattle takes over first place in the NFC West and in the NFC, a 38-37 absolute barn burner in overtime last night. What a game. They're now 12-3 on the year. Darnold gave it away a couple times, but he threw 2 touchdowns and came up clutch when he absolutely had to. Kenneth Walker, the third, a big night. Look at the night that Stafford had, and they lost. Look at the night Nakua had. 12 for 225 and 2, and they lose. Stafford goes for 457 yards and 3 touchdowns, and yet the Rams lose. So, as you wake up now this morning in the NFC, it looks a little different on top. Seattle now takes over the top spot at 12-3. But know this, the 49ers actually control their own destiny. San Francisco wins out. They'll be the number 1. 49ers play the Seahawks in the final game of the regular season in a couple of weeks. The Bears at the 2 spot, then Philly, Tampa. The Rams fall from 1 to 5, meaning right now they'd go and play Tampa Bay in the opening round. 49ers sitting there quietly at the 6th spot. And remember, the Bears and Packers play tomorrow night. That was a football game. They had everything you wanted and then some, and how that transpired last night in Seattle. Best game of the year. And that's the way we're going to start Week 16, and let's go, because that was a dynamite football game that transpired last night between the Rams and the Seahawks. Congratulations to Seattle. Again, record 0-155. 0-155 in the fourth quarter when trailing by 16 points or more. They had never won. Well, now they've got one to their credit after winning last night to start Week 16. That wasn't the only thrilling games we had going on last night. I guess there's no thrill in the Wild right now because all they do is win. There's no, let's just say, anticipation. Let's just say any drama around it because, you know, when they're taking the ice, they're winning games. Last night against the Blue Jackets, they took care of business again. Actually, they trailed earlier in this game, and after that, Minnesota put their foot down against Columbus, trailing 1-0. I can't believe how good they are on the power play. Little tic-tac-toe there to score the opening game. opening goal, of the game to tie it up at 1. Move later in the second. Vladimir Tarasenko. Where does he come from? He hasn't done anything the first 2 months. Now he's got 3 goals in a game and a half. That's his 6th of the year, makes it a 2-1 score. Blue Jackets tie it at 2. The Wild take the lead here on a Joel Eriksson. He camps out in front of the net. He's so good there. Taps it home. His 8th of the year. Wild go in front 3-2. Watch again. Just tuck it right underneath on the rebound. That's a tough goal. When things are going your way, you're going to find ways to score like that. Wild take a 3-2 lead. Kaprizov added an empty netter, as did Matt Boldy. The Minnesota Wild keep on winning. 5-2 the final. They've won 6 in a row as they keep zoom. Again, they can't really zoom up the standings because they play in the same division with Colorado and Dallas. They're now 21-9-5. They have 47 points. Last I checked, that's pretty darn good as well. And again, in a division that is absolutely loaded, they're still third because they're 8 behind Colorado, who's only lost twice in regulation, and Dallas has only lost 7 times. Good win, though, for the Wild last night as they get close to the Christmas holiday. And remember, they got to play 7 consecutive games on the road with the World Junior Tournament beginning a week from now in Minneapolis and St. Paul. The Wild are going to be out of town till well after the first of the year because of the World Junior. So picking up road wins is a big deal. Lastly, before we set up the show, last night, pretty much everything locally was banged because of the weather. So unless you were already at your given destination, that's how Northern State was able to play the Dragons, and frankly how the Winthrop Eagles out of South Carolina were able to play the UND Fighting Hawks last night in men's basketball up at the Betty Engelstad Sioux Center. And frankly, nothing has gone well for UND so far this year. They've had some struggles, obviously, on the court. They've had to travel all over the country, including Hawaii, to play games. They came in at 4-9. Facing a Winthrop team that, frankly, was scuffling as well. They're not necessarily heating up things in the Big South, but they finally got something to go their way last night. Absolute heart stopper at the Betty. Let's show you the final 20 seconds of this one. UND's up 87-85 when Winthrop will take the lead on this 3 at the top of the key. That makes it an 88-87 Winthrop lead. Now, UND elects, I like this, Paul Sather says, we're not going to call any timeouts. The driving kick comes to Eli King, who's hit some clutch shots. The Caledonia kid drills the 3 with 0.5 of a second remaining. Now, get this. Winthrop's not done. They have no timeouts. They've got to inbound the ball. Watch this. This nearly goes in. Boy, that would have been an absolute gut punch. Instead, UND finally gets something good to happen from this season. A 90-88 heart stopper as they beat Winthrop to get their 5th win of the season. King was fantastic last night. 25 points on 7 of 14, 5 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 assists. His 3rd career 20-point game. Had a season-high 4 threes in the process. Who knows what this can do? UND's got to go play Nebraska coming up on Sunday night. That's going to be a stiff challenge there, but maybe this is kind of the spark that Paul Sather was looking for with his team. To have that kind of victory, now you go play a high major team, you go into the Christmas holiday, maybe you can start to get things going once Summer League play begins after the first of the year. But that's a nice win last night in a game they absolutely had to have. They get it and get their 5th win of the season in the process. So there you go. Little sample of everything that we had going on around the area last night, whether it be everyone glued into the football game, the Wild keep on winning, or some college hoops. Last night, the Dragon women won at home against Northern. The Dragon men got curb stomped by Northern State. The Wolves won by 24 in the process of that one. We got a packed show coming up for you here on this Friday morning. Our guest lineup is brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. Coming up at 9:35, you'll meet the newest edition of the Bison football roster. Gage Gilbert, Dickinson State all-conference player, is transferring to North Dakota State. Neat backstory with Gage as well. He'll join us coming up at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, if you are a Moorhead Spud hockey fan, our segment at 10 will be right for you. Tracy Briggs and Brian Cole will join us, who have been working nonstop for basically the last year plus on basically the authorized history of Moorhead Spud hockey. Obviously, after the Spuds won the state hockey championship in March, if you're looking for a last-minute gift, this might be the best way to go about it. They're going to be here in studio to chat about that coming up at 10 o'clock. And, of course, it's Friday. We'll wrap up the show in style with my dad with some stone-cold NFL picks for week number 16 as we get near the holidays and all that kind of good stuff. We'll chat with my pops, who always will give us some good Christmas cheer to head into the weekend. That and a heck of a lot more here on a busy Friday. We'll take our first break. We come back. We got some news in and out of the portal, considering some of the very best in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. That's coming up on a Friday morning edition of Hot Mic. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Don't forget, we got high school hoops coming up tonight. Shanley and Davies. Heck of a way to get going here on the weekend. Coverage begins at 5:30 tonight. Check that out on WDAY Extra to get you ready for the weekend. Eagles and the Deacons coming up tonight. We've got much more Game of the Week info we'll give you coming up later on in the show. All right, so a lot to get to here on a busy Friday. As I mentioned, Gage Gilbert going to join us here from Dickinson State, transferring into NDSU in about 15 minutes. Speaking of the Bison, here we are, 2 weeks removed from the Bison season ending, and obviously people wondering what's going to happen with the team, and how we already seen the Bison have been active adding a couple of high school guys over the last little bit. We introduced you to one yesterday, and Brandon Walton, who signed out of Kenosha, and they've added a couple guys out of Minnesota. But the main roster, they'd like to know, with award season going on, what's going to happen? Well, I don't know if no news is good news kind of deal, but they got some news today, and some positive one as well. As speaking with the head football coach before we came on the air, All-American left guard Griffin Empey is coming back for next season. Empey, who has started the last 2 years at left guard and has been a tremendous player up front. He's only missed 2 games over the last 2 years. Will be back for the Bison this upcoming fall. Now, this is a guy, I can tell you, that was being targeted by several schools in the portal and being offered substantial amounts of money to go to a different school. He has rebuffed that. Empey, you remember, is a former walk-on that redshirted in 2023. Tim Polisic came in, obviously had to reconstruct the offensive line, and he started right away in 2024. His first game was at Colorado. He missed 2 games last season, 2024, because of injury. That was it. He played every other game, and he'll be back. He started every game this season for the Bison up front. Pete Thamel also reports that Empey will return to the Bison for the 2026 season per his reps at Nilsson Sports. I think Eric may have seen this as well. I believe they followed us yesterday on our Hot Mic official account, which I don't know if that sort of set off warning signs here, but I did see that on our Hot Mic Twitter page. First team All-American this year, and that's a big deal because if the Bison have all their offensive line back, and you can lament on how they play in the final game of the season, that's fine. I'm sure people will when you're gathered around for Christmas parties and whatever. Man, the Bison O-line didn't look good in the final game of the season. Point being, none of them were seniors. You go left to right. Bo Johnson was a sophomore. Next to him, Griffin Empey was a sophomore. Trent Fraley was a junior. Other side, Nate Tosta was a redshirt freshman. And then you had Josh Mangan, who was a junior, or Ryan Babbitts, who was a true freshman. That was the lineup that the Bison O-line had this season. So the fact that you can get one of them back, big deal. Now, the other guy on the other end, we're talking about Bo Johnson. Let's just be as clear as crystal on that. That's the other biggie on this. If I'm Tim Polisic and sweating out what's going to be another 2 weeks of this, because the portal officially opens 2 weeks from today, that's the guy that next to Empey is getting big money thrown at it. So if you're on the tote board, if you've got one, and I certainly have one in my office of like the top 15 guys on the Bison football roster, right? Or who would be targeted. Empey was in top 3 or 4. Check that one off. He'll be back in 2026. Big deal there. Also coming back, guy that Griffin Empey's going to have to block in 2026. One of the best defensive players in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. That's Lance Rucker. He announced last night that he is coming back to UND for next season. And what a devastating player he was this season. He set UND's single-season sack record this year. That his coach actually set. Eric Schmidt had that mark. That is now gone. You'll remember what he did against Tennessee Tech in the first-round playoff game with the 3 sacks and the forced fumbles. That was the record setter there against Tarleton State in the second round of the FCS playoffs. He was a great player. 6'3", 230 pounds, 11.5 sacks, breaking the record that was set in 2001 by one Eric Schmidt. Had 3 sacks and 3 forced fumbles in that game against Tennessee Tech. You saw what he did. He had a sack against the Bison in their win, the Bison win over UND. UND's sack total went from 20 to 42 this year. He had 15 TFLs, just a devastating player, and he's coming back. So Eric Schmidt said in the postgame, we talked about this with Tom Miller last week, a couple weeks ago, after they beat Tennessee Tech, saying, appealing to UND fans, like, hey, if you want, you pony up, this is the guy. We got to pay this guy, knowing that there was likely going to be some departures. And this has been, I wouldn't say rough, but tough offseason probably for UND football fans to adjust to, knowing that this is the first time in this era that they've been good, I'll just say it, competitive, that their players have been wanted. And they've had it in a couple other instances, but not in gross quantities like this. Like Easton Kilty a couple years ago, him leaving to go play for Chris Kleiman at Kansas State. That was a big departure there, right? But not in the quantity they've had. Antonio Blewett gone, Sawyer Seidel gone, B.J. Fleming gone. Those are all league guys that help UND win. So to keep Rucker, that's a huge feather in the cap for Eric Schmidt to say, okay, you know what? We can go into Christmas and at least relax a little bit on what the next few days are going to bring. So that's a big win there. So with 2 guys coming back to the Valley, you feel good about it. On the other hand, though, you have our friends at Vermilion who are still probably licking the wounds after what happened Saturday in Missoula. Now they have to deal with the fact that here we go again. Like last spring when USD saw 3 of its offensive linemen leave, star linebacker leave. Now they have to deal with their star running back who emerged because of injury. He's gone. L.J. Phillips is entering the transfer portal after a all first-team league season in 2025 where he tore up the Valley to the tune of 1,920 yards and 19 touchdowns. The game against Northern Colorado when he ran for 300-some-odd yards still is ridiculous of what he did. That's the highlights of it there from earlier this season. Now remember, Phillips was a highly sought-after player coming out of Wichita. Prior to his senior season, he got hurt, tore his ACL, and that, I just say it, scared off the big boys. And we wouldn't have known his name maybe if Charles Pierre doesn't get hurt against Lamar, because Charles Pierre was USD's guy. Remember how dynamic he was last year for USD and leading them to the semifinals. Obviously, Pierre got hurt against Lamar. This guy comes in, runs roughshod over Drake, runs roughshod over Northern Colorado. Like, okay. And then he came up here, and the Bison, obviously, they hammered USD, so we didn't get to see LJ probably in the mode that everybody else got to see him. But that's a difficult law. And USD fans were tweeting at me yesterday saying, well, we expected this, knowing, you know what, maybe it doesn't mean it doesn't still sting, considering, you know, if you have a potential to keep Phillips and Pierre, holy cow, that's quite the tandem you'd have for 2025. Knowing full well you've got or 2026, knowing full well you got to break in a new quarterback next season, because you've had the most steady spot there with a guy who's been quarterbacking you for the last 3 years, and Aiden Bauman now moving on. But if you have 2 uber talented backs, that's a heck of a way to start. But be that as it may, he is in. So we'll start the official tote board next week on the All Valley list, because we did that. We had fun Eric and I did that this past March with the Summit League, and it's obviously way fewer guys that we end up having one or two that are back this year in basketball on the men's side. We're going to have to end up doing that on the football side. For the guys that are eligible to return, how many? Right now, we got a couple. We got way too many that are not going to be back, whether it's graduation or heading to a higher level. So that's what we know on the portal side of things. Before we break and we get Gage on, we didn't have time to do this yesterday when we had Kyle Grooms on to show you exactly the kind of domination the Missouri Valley Football Conference has had in the postseason. We made this graphic, and I would say Eric made the graphic for me yesterday, on what this has been over this stretch. Obviously, the league has a team in the postseason for a 15th straight year in the semifinal round. Just stopgap there. Now, granted, the Bison have been part of that every year outside of 2020, the COVID spring year where they got beat, and this year. Bison have been a semifinalist in 2010, obviously. 2010, 2020, and this year. But still, the league had been represented in the semifinal round from 2011 to tomorrow. Illinois State now has the most road wins in the 24-team playoff era. They have, as we talked about this earlier in the week, with 8 of them going for a 9th tomorrow. And that brings up the last stat. Playoff record, the Valley and the Bison have certainly stuffed the stat sheet on this one, but they're not alone. South Dakota State has hammered teams from the CAA, specifically New Hampshire. I think they've beaten UNH at least a couple times off the top of my head in the postseason. Valley 26-16 all-time mark against the CAA. And you think of the teams that have come to Fargo to play in the semifinal round of the CAA. UNH, New Hampshire did in 2013. Richmond did in 2015 and got its clocks clean there. Those games were not close of past playoff performances. So, again, you got to go out on the road and do it. And this is for Illinois State. They went from Hammond, Louisiana, Fargo, North Dakota, Davis, California, now Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's a lot. That's a lot. I still think they got a heck of a chance to win this game tomorrow. We'll do our official FCS semifinal predictions coming up before we go. But we're due for a break. So let's take one now. When we come back, you'll meet the newest edition of the Bison football roster out of Dickinson State. Gage Gilbert will join us when Hot Mike returns on this Friday morning. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Friday morning show off and rolling. The history of Spud hockey and a book that's coming up in a half hour. Looking forward to that conversation and picks with my dad in about an hour's worth of time. We mentioned earlier in the show on the return of one of NDSU stalwarts up front, Griffin Empey. He just tweeted out, by the way, the man himself said to run it back. So he'll be back with the Bison in 2026. Also part of the Bison football roster in 2026 is our next guest, who's been a standout out west for Dickinson State for the last 2 years. His name is Gage Gilbert, a tight end out of South Dakota, who will be transferring to join the Bison for next season. And he joins us this morning to chat about that. Gage, first, thanks for doing this, bud. Congratulations. Give us the backstory. How did this come about that you're going to be coming to NDSU next year?
It was all just pretty crazy. Coach Polsek called me one night, and there's some ties there. He's good. He's friends and family over here where I live, out in the middle of nowhere. So, yeah, that's how it all kind of started rolling. And then I came up here for a visit, and it's just a whirlwind. And, things worked out.
All right, so first off, let's get the middle of nowhere part, because where in the middle of nowhere in South Dakota are you from?
So the very northwest corner, as far as you can get. I can see Montana from my house pretty much, and North Dakota's not that far north, so
all right,
long ways.
So let's backtrack. How did Dickinson State find you? Let's start with that.
I don't know. We're not that far from them, and my dad played there, so that's probably how they got the name. But my plan initially was I was going to college rodeo. That's what I was set on, that sort of thing. And then one day Dickinson called me. They said, we're going to get you up here to play football. And, I didn't argue. I figured I could rodeo the rest of my life and only play football for so long. So that's what I did.
Okay, so when did football become, hey, I can go down this road instead of rodeo?
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of made a split decision and decided to play football. And, turns out I was kind of good at it. Good enough anyway. And, I love football. So, yeah.
So you played 9-man in high school, right?
Yep,
so,
9-man.
So describe moving up to 11-man foot. What was that? How stark of a difference was that in college when you started doing that?
Yeah, I was definitely had to make some adjustments here and there, a lot more guys on the field, less space, but I always thought 9-man was the funnest form of football there is, just more explosive plays. The rules are all the same field, all that. Just get rid of the 2 fat tackles. So a lot more space out there, a lot more stuff to do.
All right, so you're a first-team all-league player last year. Just was this that kind of success? Did that even surprise you? Like this is easier, quote unquote, than I thought?
Nothing's easy in football. You got to work for everything. But I don't know. It's just I wasn't even concerned about any of that stuff. I was just playing football, I wasn't concerned about stats or winning any of that stuff. I was just playing football. And then, one day they said, yeah, you're all conference. So that was awesome.
Just someone told you? Like, who told you were an all-league player?
My coach texted me. Yep. And he told me.
So you remember what your thoughts were finding that out? Like, man, this is all happened in a blur that I wasn't even supposed to be doing this. And now I'm actually pretty good at it.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, I don't know. I didn't really think about it too much. I just thought I'm just going to play at Dickinson for the rest of my life and let it be what it is.
All right, so you have another really good year. You were second team this year. So the season wraps up. So tell me, was playing at a higher level come to mind, or was it just basically Coach Polisic called you and said, hey, we think you could play with us?
Yeah, I definitely had it in mind. Playing at that level, D1, is every kid's dream. That's the goal. It's awesome. So I wanted to. I really wanted to. I was kind of reaching out here and there, and then yeah, Coach Polisic called me, and here I am.
Now, we were just briefly talking before you came on the air. There are you got some family ties as well to a couple of Bison as well.
Yeah. So on my visit, my mom wasn't there because she was actually in Seattle watching Gray Zabel play. We're cousins.
So there's one.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, and then Jet plays too, so that's awesome.
So how well do you know the Zabels?
Well enough. I only see him at like Thanksgiving and stuff. Everybody's always busy, so I used to see him a lot more when I was a kid. But yeah, Thanksgiving's the only time I see him.
How big a deal are they in South Dakota now after what Gray has done?
Yeah, they're a big deal. Everybody knows their name, that sort of thing. They're tremendous athletes.
All three of the brothers, and obviously both mom and dad were pretty good athletes as well. I know they watch, so I'm making sure I give the shout out there. Okay, so Coach Polisic calls you. What goes through your mind on that, saying, hey, there might be an opportunity for you to play at North Dakota State?
I was just really excited. I just was jumping at any opportunity I could get, and yeah, it was awesome. So really happy you did.
So now, was it a slam dunk for you? Did you have to think about it, or what was give me the process after that, after the phone call came?
I had to think about it, and, I was kind of on the fence, and then I came on my visit, and I just absolutely loved everything that they showed me, and I loved all the people I met, and, it was just definitely the right place for me.
So now it's a done deal. I know we were texting last night. You got to get back out to the farm and mess with some cows out there. But what have you been able to sink this in? And like, this is reality starting next year for you?
Yeah, I'm in mentality. It's go time. I'm ready to work, ready to get on the grind. Absolutely. But before I do that, any of that kind of grind, I gotta go grind hay for some cows. Feed them.
What on your visit, Gage? What did they tell? What did the guys tell you about being a Bison, expectation-wise, coming in?
You know, they were just talking about how you earn everything you get, and I'm all about that. I love that. And we talked about just the culture of Bison football, and I loved it. I'm completely ready to buy in. I think I fit in really well.
Tell me about. We've had Coach Stanton on the show a couple times. What was your relationship with Coach, and what did he mean to you at Dickinson State?
You know, I love everything about Coach Stanton. He's the reason I'm playing football. He gave me the opportunities that made me who I am today. So nothing but love and appreciation for him.
All right, so I got to ask this because I was reading up a little bit about you, so don't get too upset with me. But your hometown, your home county, my son would love this. You're the T-Rex capital of the world. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I've heard that before. I'm pretty sure that's true. Yeah.
So there are people that dig up fossils all over where you're at.
Yeah. Just the other year, not too long ago, they on one of my ranches, they dug up a super complete what do you call those big ones? Triceratops, I think that's what it was.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was like super complete, and it had T-Rex teeth like lodged in its bones. So I figured that's how it went down.
That's fantastic. That I can't. Well, my son will be so jealous to hear about that story tonight.
Yeah.
So
you can bring him out sometime. We'll go find some
all right.
bones.
That sounds like a plan. We'll do it. Tell me.
Yeah.
Life on the farm. What is this like? I mean, football probably is easy compared to what you have to do on a day-to-day basis, right?
It's really similar, you know. Up here, it gets pretty cold, so in football, you're freezing your butt off a lot of the time, and out here on the ranch, you're freezing your butt off a lot of the time. So I'm pretty used to that sort of thing. And you know, it's just we really value hard work and that sort of thing, and it directly relates to football. So it's awesome.
Couple last minutes here with Gage. We appreciate your time. You mentioned rodeo. Describe how early did you get started in that, and what goes in? I know hard work does. What goes into being really good at rodeo?
You know, rodeo is just a really technical sport. So just practice. You know, I started when I was just as soon as, you know, day one, you know, dad put a rope in my hands, that sort of thing. I was never the best at roping. Don't get me wrong there. I was a steer wrestler. That's what I was good at.
All right. So that already sounds crazy. Like, how did you ever get seriously hurt doing that?
Oh, not too bad. You know, just a broken hand, arm here and there. Nothing too crazy. I've seen some guys getting really bad wrecks, so I'm pretty grateful for never having to go through that.
What's the longest you ever were on one? You know the time?
I didn't ride them, so we would. It's where you jump off the horse onto it and you throw it. So the fastest I ever was, I don't know, 3.94.
Wow, that's pretty darn good, man. That's still pretty good. Holy cow!
Not good enough.
You mentioned obviously your dad played football. How big a deal is this when you told your family that this is the road you're going to go down now? Division I is coming for you.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's really excited about it, and they support me 100%. And, you know, it's just nice to, you know, beat my dad, you know, because he just played at Dickinson. So that sort of thing.
Now, give me the road trip-wise, you guys played all over the place, especially this year with a new conference. You describe that of what the road trips were like this year for you guys?
Yeah, you know, they're all very long, very long. You know, we drive all the way over to Butte, Montana, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a long drive, but, you know, looking back, it was really nice to be able to spend time with the fellas, you know, on the bus, and that's where you make your best friends in life. So I didn't mind it too much.
And you came out to Valley City as well. That's not necessarily next door either, that you had a trip this way too, right?
Yeah, that's one of the closer ones. Yeah, that's a close one.
Yeah, I was looking this year. You had Billings, Dillon. You were in Haver. I mean, you're all over the place, man. That is that's some long time on the bus here. So you'll have to get you got a different way of traveling now. I'm just going to tell you that to get used to when you get here. I really appreciate it, man. I know you're a busy man. Thanks so much for doing this. Have a great holiday. Look forward to meeting you in person here in the not-too-distant future, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate the time. There he goes. NDSU's new tight end transfer, Gage Gilbert, out of Dickinson State, out of Harding County, South Dakota. I don't know if we have any viewers in Harding County. If we do, hello. And if that's the case, we're heading your way. Because I found this when we're looking up a little bit about Gage, which is fantastic, about located in the farthest northwest corner of South Dakota, which, as he said, Harding County is known to paleontologists as the T-Rex capital of the world. More T-Rex fossils have been found there than anywhere else. Boom. So there you go. Gage said we can come out and do it. Jackman will be all over that because the dinosaurs are still very popular in the Izzo household these days. Appreciate that to Gage. And that's you look at the tight end spot. Let's turn it to football here real quick. The Bison are having Carson Williams, Finn Diggins move on. Obviously, they had to love what Reese Kessel gave them this season. Gage is not a small individual by any stretch of the imagination. 6'6", 250 pounds. You want to do his stats. 49 receptions over the last 2 years, 489 yards, 7 touchdowns. He was a first-team Frontier Conference pick last season in 2024, second team this year. So, big dude that obviously is pretty athletic. He's known to the family, related to the Zabels. That's already a good start there. So again, not being quiet with adding to the roster. The head football coach has been busy knowing, okay, the season's been done now a couple weeks. He's not been idling by, working not only with the guys, trying to make sure they don't leave, and adding to it as well. So I get it. You're going to watch the games tomorrow and grit your teeth like, God, they still should be playing. They're not sitting on their hands, folks. I don't know what that'll mean for 2026, but they've been busy. Appreciate his time. All right, we'll break. When we come back, we'll wrap up our first hour. Big second hour plan on this Friday morning show. We're glad you're joining us. Back after this. All right, wrapping up our first hour. Awesome stuff with Gage Gilbert. If you missed that, we'll podcast it later today at Inforum. That was really good stuff. So here we go. We're on the doorstep. CFP begins tonight, Alabama and Oklahoma. I can't bite my tongue on this anymore. There's 2 topics I want to hit on real quick before we wrap up the first hour. The first is something we talked about when Bill Connolly joined. If you missed that, he was great from ESPN. We're talking about how everyone think the bowls are going to go away and all this. It's been garbage because, frankly, I work in TV. I understand how this works. Ratings came out for the first bowl Saturday night. ABC had the LA Bowl. 3.8 million people watched the LA Bowl Saturday night on ABC between Boise and Washington, which was a blowout. 4 million. So, again, full stop. The bowls aren't going anywhere if that amount of people are watching. People like football, bar none. They like watching it. The second thing, Nick Saban came out yesterday, I think on McAfee's show, because apparently this whole week has been about to rip Tulane and James Madison for being in the CFP. Saban said, will we allow the winner of the AAA Baseball League? Would you let them in the World Series? That's the equivalent of what we do when JMU gets into the college football playoff and Notre Dame doesn't. First off, that's not accurate because they're both FBS schools. May not seem it to Nick Saban, who lost, by the way, to Utah way back when he was the coach of Alabama, but James Madison is an FBS school, as is Tulane. Not Precious, and Precious Notre Dame is as well. Like, I just don't get the bashing this week of having those 2 teams in it. And by the way, if you want more, expand it. Then go to 16. But they are contractually obligated to have a team in there. And I know it's written differently for next year that Notre Dame will be guaranteed a spot if they're ranked a certain bit. And all the Power 4 champions will be automatically in it as well starting next year. But apparently having a Sun Belt team in there or having a AAC team in there apparently is just a bridge too far. No one cares about Cinderella in college football. Do I have to remind everybody about App State and what they did and how big a deal that was. North Dakota State's win over Iowa, Boise State beating Oklahoma. Those are all big, big deals in college football history. Or Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame last year. Didn't everybody lose their collective you-know-what about that? I mean, I don't understand what and Stu Mandel wrote about this as well, did a great job in The Athletic about it. Like, who's this hurting? And we're going to hear it come Sunday if we have blowouts this weekend. You know what happens in Wild Card Weekend in the NFL? Teams get blown out there all the time, too. So save me your rants about this is the end. If JMU loses by 60, they're never. No, that's not going to happen. And you know what? If they decide, the powers that be, the Big Ten and SEC decide we're going to have our own playoff and stack it with 6 out of one league and 6 out of another, and then we'll fill it with whoever's, then you know what? The group of 5 can go have their playoff, and that will be pretty darn good too. And you know why? Because people will televise it. It will make money. People will watch it. Going back to my last point, because people watch football. So stop with this woe is me on having them in there. I've heard it too from some of our colleagues in South Dakota about it, and it's just baloney. It just is. Because I think they're either worried about North Dakota State moving to that division, and that's obviously at this point, that's to use McFeely's term, the moonshot, because you want to be in James Madison or Tulane's spot to have a unbelievable year and have a shot at the CFP. That's all you ask for. Because think about that tomorrow night when you're sitting at home and you don't want to watch Illinois State Villanova, fine, and you want to watch James Madison. James Madison was in this city 4 years ago this week, losing to the Bison. Now they're playing Oregon in the college football playoff. Right? You want another round with Murray, or do you want to go play Oregon in the biggest spectacle the sport has? Seems like kind of a no-brainer to me. All right, we'll break. We come back. We'll start our second hour. Really neat deal to tell you about. If you love hockey, you love Moorhead Spud Hockey, if you need a late Christmas gift, we got the perfect idea for you. That's coming up. We start hour 2, a Hot Mic on a Friday morning. We're back right after this.
This is Hot Mic. Hot Mic on the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, ready to rock and roll here on this Friday morning. We got NFL picks with my dad coming up in about a half hour. Everybody rock and rolling for that. Excited here for our next guest in studio, who I've known since I started WDAY, which is now going to be 20 years in 2026, which is crazy to say. Because I think I'm sitting pretty close to where Tracy Briggs used to sit, and she's here today. Her and Brian Cole have been working on, I would say, the authorized history of Moorhead hockey, which the book is available now, which if you need a last-minute Christmas gift for all the love hockey, you can go through it. She's here in studio. Brian is busy today because they had a concert, because yesterday there was no school in Moorhead, so he's over there. It's great to see you. How are you? Yeah.
We're right. My desk was about 20 feet away.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and speaking of 20, there's no way it's been 20 years because you and I are only about, only about 20.
So it's great to see you. I'll talk about the book in a second,
Okay.
but first, you also are a fellow East Coaster as well, right? That you originally are from, you're from D.C., right?
Boy, that's a good memory. Well, I mean, that when I was really little. So
Yeah.
my parents were from the Washington, D.C. area,
Yep.
and my dad was working for the government.
Yeah.
And got the health department and was interviewed for a job out here with a hospital. The administrator took him out to his lake cabin in July, and my dad said, "This is so beautiful."
Slam dunk,
and
right?
and then he took the job, and it was November, December, and it was like, where are we? But we love it. My parents loved it here.
And then you decided to, this was home as well?
Yeah, you know, the way it worked out, I mean, I just think both you and I got into a really great company that has always really nurtured, what do you want to do? And that's why I worked in television, I worked in radio, and then I'm in print.
Yeah.
You just kind of, there's nothing the same about what I do. Every day is a little bit different.
That's what I tell people
Right?
when I get a chance to speak. I know I did at your class as well. I told them that every day is different, which is why I love it, because there's something different that happens. So we still, I don't know if you know, on the news, they have these Throwback Thursday segments. Occasionally, there's one from you. Do you still get people that recognize you from doing the news?
Yeah, I'll still occasionally get, you get the weekend off. because I was the weekend anchor for a long time. Then I was the 5 o'clock anchor, and it's like, yep, I got the weekend off, and occasionally. Now it's funny. I get mistaken for Tammy Swift or Tracy Frank. Occasionally Robin Hubner. So it's a compliment because I love all those women. But it was a really good time.
The thing I never fully grasped at the first few months I was here, and I was weekend sports.
Yeah.
Was how many people watch WDAY. Like, it was a couple months in and people already were recognizing me. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I was told that when I was interviewing, like, hey, we're the big stick. Everybody watches WDAY, right? And then I found that out pretty soon after. Like, wow, okay, I got to be on my P's and Q's because there are people watching all the time
Well, and also just the history. And, of course, I do a lot of history reporting now.
Yes.
You almost felt like you had something to live up to because there was such a history of, the Marv Bosserts and the Dewey Bergquists and the John Wheelers now, who is now. And I think about him now the last few days with the storms.
Yep.
I think it's John sitting at home with his feet up. And
smiling from ear to ear.
Saying,
you have to worry
having
about
fun
it.
there, Jesse.
I thought about like the first, the tornado that we had in June.
Yes.
And I know Wheel would have been just, going, guns blazing on that. He wouldn't have sat down for 4 or 5 hours. I know Jesse didn't that night either. But it's a different
what
beast
a great
now.
guy. I mean, we were just. I mean, my sister moved to Canada, and she wasn't even kidding. She said, "I love it up here. It's beautiful, but I really miss John Wheeler." And I said, "I'll have to tell John."
There's a lot of people, I think, that have that sentiment as well.
It was the weather was. Yeah, we sound like we're a little commercial here for
Right?
John Wheeler.
Yeah.
And Jesse's awesome. She's also an ugly sweater person like me.
Yes, she embraces that.
Yep.
So you went television, and you were doing radio as well. When I started, I believe, were you full time in the morning? I can't remember with you and Booge. I can't remember when I started. What was that like? Because I did both as well, and I love radio. Because I love being able to do both. Was it seamless for you, or it took a little bit?
It was an adjustment because in television, of course, especially in news, you're not supposed to have an opinion about
very
anything.
straight laced.
Not a lot of personality.
Give me the facts. Yep.
And then I get into that studio with Paul Bougie, and if anybody knows Paul Bougie, he is all personality.
No doubt.
And he had to kind of bring me out of my shell sometimes, and sometimes I would literally not be able to talk because he was making me laugh so hard. So he's come to my class. I taught for a while at Concordia, is what Don was talking about, and Bouge came there.
Oh, I'm
basically
sure he
took
killed
over
it, right?
Yeah, talked about commercials because I wanted the students to learn about how you do promos and commercials,
Right.
And I was telling Laura, my daughter who's here, one of my memories about you in radio. You must have done like sports clips for us, or you were live with us.
Yep.
And Booge always had to make sure he had the mic, the levels, because he and I would be talking like this, and you'd come on, "Hey everybody, it's a terrific Tuesday."
I still have people that remember when I used to do because we did a sports report for the morning show.
Yeah.
And I would record that right after the news was done. So at like 10:45, I go back in the studio, and I always wanted something kitschy like that. So I had
you woke people up. So Booge would always say, "Oh, I have
for
to remember,
better or worse,
it's the Izzo factor. I gotta turn the volume."
Our crew experiences it right now on a day-to-day basis.
I love it. You've got energy.
What are you doing? Are you excited about what you do or not?
Yeah.
Right. So
and morning was tough with that. If you've done morning stuff, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes it's like, it's hard to.
No doubt.
Yeah,
and that's the thing, especially because in news, you're working, you work nights. I did that forever and a day. That's all you're used to. When I started doing this shift, that was wild. Like, wow, this is
you get
whole
to sleep,
different. Yeah,
right?
Well, we had a baby soon after I moved to that shift. So no, although the Jackman was pretty good on that. But yes, to some extent, yes, it's a little bit different on that. Okay, let's get to what you're talking. What you're here today. I know you dabble in sports as well. So how did this come about doing a book about hockey in Moorhead?
Well, I live in Moorhead. Grew up in Fargo, went to Fargo South, but my kids were Spuds.
Yes.
And
notably taught by my better half.
Well, that's my daughter came in and of course said, "I know Dom's a big sports guy, but I still know him as Courtney's husband or Miss Tobias's husband." So that's okay.
Make sure we clip that. So she'll love that. Yes, absolutely.
So it's funny because my kids were not hockey players. One of my favorite stories is Laura was a figure skater. She went to skate with a friend one day. And to hockey, skate, go to a hockey thing. She came home and I said, "Well, how was it?" "Well, I had to wear all this stuff, and it kind of smelled, and I couldn't spin. So my daughters were not going to be hockey players.
That was the end of that. Yeah.
So anyway, okay, I get distracted here. So we followed Spud sports. My kids were in theater and speech and things like that, but we were always kind of Spud fans.
Yeah.
And then we watched and got caught up in the fever of the state tournament, and I found myself watching them win, and I'm crying. And I said to my husband, "This is just really weird." But one of the reasons I think is because back in 1993, I did a couple of stories about the Spuds when they were runners-up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a weekend news reporter, and we went to the welcome home ceremony. And that was in the days of Matt Cullen and great, great teams back in the early 90s. But I saw them walk into the gym, and great accomplishment, second place, but they looked so sad.
Yeah.
And then I'd watch my girls skate, many years after that, and I'd see those second-place banners. And I just thought about how Matt Cullen once said, I'd give up a Stanley Cup to have won that state championship. Yeah. So it was just, I just knew how much it meant to those boys who were now the fathers of some of the, and I'm just a big mushball, and I'm like, this is so wonderful. So I decided to revisit that story I did for my column, and I ended up talking to Louis Paquin, who was on one of the teams. He's telling me stories. And I said, Louis, this should be a book. And he goes, yeah, you should write it. I said, no, you should write it. We're back and forth, and I said, I'm not kidding. And that's how, and then I called Brian Cole.
Okay.
Or texted Brian Cole. And
so
he's
that was this spring. So obviously the state championship game is middle of March.
Right.
So when does the snowball get rolling towards what I'm looking at in front of me here?
Right. Well, it kind of right away we started. Well, let me just say this real quickly about Brian. He did that more at history book.
Yes. Yep.
And I texted him. I said, Brian, how'd you like to do a hockey book with me? Right away. Not doing any more books. My author days are over. An hour later, he texts me and says, tell me more about what you're thinking. And I tease him because I think his wife just wanted to have him to do something in the summer to keep him busy. But anyway, we started right away kind of pitching the plan to the powers that be, our bosses, and just, hey, here's what it would be. And Brian's got so much history, pictures and yearbooks, and he's just got so much information.
Yes.
And fortunately, Bill Marcel Jr., who's our boss, was like, you know what, this is a really big deal, and I want to show Moorhead that we think this is something to celebrate. So,
and the fact of the matter is the amount of archive photos in here, and we can take a shot, Brody, of the front of the book. Onward Moorhead, an illustrated history of MHS Spud hockey, 1965 to 2025, and it's got, every color photos in there from 50 years ago, 60, which is fantastic. I don't know. The forum library is full of, I've been in there just a little bit.
Yeah.
I know what our video library is like down in the basement of this building. I can't imagine what that was like to go and find old photos like that.
Well, you know what? I have to be honest. A lot of the photos, are from Dave Sampson, who, of course, is the best in the business.
Sammy's the man. Yep.
So a lot of it, there were a lot of forum photos, but a lot of the photos also were from Moorhead schools.
Yeah.
The yearbooks and fans
awesome.
And players, and that's the one thing that Brian is so connected over there. He's an orchestra teacher, but he's like Mr. Unofficial Moorhead
Historian, basically. Yeah.
And so he put a call out and said, hey, do you have pictures?
Yeah.
So all summer he had fans and athletes and parents dropping this stuff off at his office, and he went through all of it, and a lot of that made the book, and the memorabilia, the buttons, and a lot of stuff.
Was there a interview when you laid this out saying, okay, we can't do the book if we don't talk to blank?
Boy, there were so many. I think that Terry Shercliffe, was such a big part of Spud hockey, and Brian was really insistent that we really honor him, and he writes a foreword in here.
Yep.
And then it was doing things like talking to other coaches, of course, John Ammerman and Ryan Kraft and Matt Cullen. And just also what I love, too, is that Brian said, you know what, let's talk to the bus driver who drove the Spuds for 40 years. And what was that like?
I think Kevin did a story at him, if I remember right.
Of course. You know what?
Kevin Wallen does a story like that.
Well, he does. And you know what? Sometimes it's like I watch the news, and I'll be like, oh, I was going to do that story, Kevin. It's a good thing. I love him so much.
Correct.
But he's just, he's wonderful. But so it's just a lot of the people stories, too. And we did a story on Steve Dorsey, who I only vaguely remember it, but he was the young man who was paralyzed.
Yes.
And people said, you have to do, his life is just one of inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And he just talked about the brotherhood of how they helped him get through all that. And so there's a profile of him in here.
Was there one interview you got that either surprised you or you didn't know? Like that you ran along. Was there one story that came along? I didn't know that. We got to put that in the book.
Well, the Steve Dorsey thing. Honestly, that was a big part. And just also what surprised me so much is I always thought of Moorhead hockey as being very strong. I mean, like I said, I went to Fargo South, and I always looked at Moorhead whenever we played Moorhead in hockey. We knew they were tough.
Yep.
But the fact that in those early days
they weren't very good.
They had to beg. Thief River Falls, Red Lake Falls, Edina, Roseau, all of them to play them. In fact, one of my favorite stories was, and cut me off, Don.
No, you're fine. Go for it. You're great.
I think it was Terry Shercliffe, but don't quote me on that. It was in the very early days. They were having a little tournament here, and they wanted to get, the bigwigs were Roseau and Edina. These guys were never going to say yes. So I think it was Terry Shercliffe called Roseau and said, well, we're having this tournament, and Edina's coming. Oh.
Well, if they're
Roseau said, if Edina's coming, we'll come. So they committed. And then they would call Edina and say, well, Roseau's coming. And so it's so funny. And the Spuds had to travel a lot to these northern cities, and they would get beaten 13-0. And how cool is that this town, I think, saw that what was missing was a youth hockey program. And so they started getting these, at the time, boys, teaching them how to be hockey players. And then eventually the introduction of the girls program. And I want to highlight that this does include the history of the girls program, and it also talks a little bit about the adapted program.
Oh,
and the girls program, that's another inspirational story, is just how Jim McFarland and how he really had to jump through a lot of hoops.
Fight for that.
Fight for the fairness of these girls and make sure they didn't just get scraps. And
one of my first actual Moorhead stories I did was on Ashley Steenerson, who was the first
Yes.
real stud girls hockey player, went to go play at the University of Minnesota. And I remember going over and following her and how, wow, this is and when she committed to the University of Minnesota, how big a deal that was, because the Spud boys had their run. Obviously, Brian Lee was a high pick. Chris Vandevelde. They hadn't had that on the girls' side. Ashley was really the first, and now Ryan's got 3 or 4 every year. They're going to go play Division I hockey on the girls' side now.
And Ashley, I think there was a story about her when Jim started coaching the girls. Ashley was somebody that came up through the boys program, the youth program. Then she gets into this girls hockey program in high school, and they were walking out of practice one day, and she said to the coach, "Why are you so easy on us? Why don't you treat us like you taught us when we were with the boys?" And he said that was such an eye opener that he said, I was looking at them as girl hockey players, and now in his later years it was, no, they're just hockey players. They're just hockey players, and they want to be pushed and. Yeah,
you get Matt's dad. Did you get Terry? Did you talk to Terry?
I did talk to. We saw them at the ring ceremony.
All time. When I list my favorite interviews, I had Terry here right after Matt won his second Stanley Cup. When the Penguins won it, and it was actually before Courtney and I were getting married. He came in the studio. And I told him, hey, I got to do this because I'm leaving. He's like, what's going on? I'm getting married. Oh, you want to talk about that? No, you're here. You were on the ice 2 days ago with your son in Nashville when they won the Stanley Cup. But another one of the pillars of Moorhead is Terry. It's Terry Cullinan, part of that.
And I love and to be honest, too, what I did with a lot of the interviews, we as a company had already done profiles. So I took some forum archives. So one of our sports guys did a really complete profile of him.
Yeah.
And I added a few things to that. But what I loved is Terry at the end of the story was he just talked about when Matt won that Stanley Cup and all the siblings came out.
Yeah.
And he talked about being a dad and how big a part, not just for him, but for so many of the coaches, what family meant. And some of the coaches stepped down to spend more time with their family, because being a hockey coach in Moorhead, I know being a sports guy in Fargo during bison season is not easy.
No, it's honestly, bison season doesn't end anymore, but to your point, it's 24/7 for what you're talking about.
So
there's one I haven't got through the book yet. Dennis Bushy, did you get Denny in there too?
We had actually again another profile of him.
Yeah,
because everybody just talked about, he's a name that if you're outside of Moorhead, you maybe don't know.
Correct.
But everybody said, all these former pros said, he treats every kid the same, no matter if you're going to star the team or just trying skating. He treats every kid the same and wants them to enjoy the ice.
All right, you have 5 more minutes. We got to take a break. All right, let's break here. We'll come back much more with Tracy Briggs on the Onward Moorhead book. We'll tell you where it's available and where you can get it if you're out shopping here for the next couple days, and where to pick it up. We'll do that other side of the break. Back here on a Friday morning, Hot Mic right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. A few minutes left here with Tracy Briggs, who... Do you still have a key card to this place?
No.
Are you serious?
I have to buzz in.
Oh, come on.
I have to sign in.
Seriously?
No, Jeff Nelson's tough on me, man.
Wow, come
the news
on.
director, yeah. Because I always want to stop in and see Kevin.
Yes.
And Kirsten.
Yes.
And Kayla Mueller.
Yes.
Who used to babysit my kids.
Is that right? I did not know that.
Yes. Yes, Kayla Mueller, assignment editor extraordinaire.
Oh, yes.
She's the best.
Well, it's funny, again, because the old newsroom is basically where we're at
Yes.
right now. The radio studio is now what our production place is for what we do for Hot Mic every day. I can remember vividly being down here. I mean, we had some windows, but that was...
Because you were here.
That was it.
And yeah, your sports department
We
was
were
right.
down here.
Oh, you
Sports
were
was
already
on
over there,
that
'cause
side. Yep.
When I first started, sports was over here.
Sports was down on this end now, where
Okay.
weather is occupying, where they do their updates throughout the day for Inforum. So, that was the old alignment down here. We're talking with Tracy about the new Moorhead hockey book called Onward Moorhead: An Illustrated History of Spud Hockey over the last 60 years. All right, the big question is, A, how much? B, where can you find it?
Okay. We have had it available for online ordering for a few months now.
Okay.
But now we're so excited because you can buy it now in person at the Forum and not worry about, is it going to, if it ships out, is it going to make it by Christmas time? But stop at the Forum, 101 5th Street North. My daughter, who's here with me today, works at the front desk
So
there.
Laura will be giving it to
She
you
will-
there?
Yes,
Okay.
and it is 7004.
Okay.
With tax in North Dakota.
Okay.
But we are also going to be selling it at the big banner raising event on December 23rd when the boys, we get to see that banner that everybody's waited for, the first place banner. A lot of alumni are coming back. Brian Cole and Drew Trafton and I will be out there selling the book.
Okay.
Drew Trafton will be there because he produced the documentary called First, which completely looks at the championship season. He doesn't get into the history of this stuff.
It's just last year.
So that's important. That's a really important thing to say. The price of this book doesn't just pay for the book. It pays for access to see the documentary.
Okay.
So there's a link in here in the book to stream the documentary, and it's beautiful. Drew did a great job.
So tomorrow, Spuds have Minnetonka, which we're televising on Extra, which is a biggie. That's 1 and 2 in the state. I went down, my first experience of the state hockey tournament, when I had heard about it prior to coming here, was 2009. Spuds lost in the championship that year to Eden Prairie. And I remember visiting with Dave Morinville, the then coach of the team, and it was a controversial goal that ended up being called a goal, and they lost 1-0.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, all right, just another one that we got down here.
Yeah.
And 2017 was one that was unexpected. I remember that was different because I was living in Moorhead at the time, and Courtney and I were engaged. We were going to get married that summer. That one felt differently to me because now I was living in Moorhead. I had covered these guys, and they made it all the way to the state championship game, and again. They lost that one, but the following year thought, okay, this is the year.
Yep, everybody.
28. They had the TV crew was following them from down the Twin Cities, and they had all that, and they didn't even make it to the state tournament that year. Like, man, is this ever gonna happen? Yeah. And so when they had the year they had last year, I'm like, all right, well, and then the first game. They're behind by a couple goals. Like, seriously, they're going to go and this is going to flame out. And they won that game. They beat Edina, which is ironic considering what Edina did to them in football, which I know they got a little bit of payback in the football field in November. And I was home that Saturday night because it was one Saturday I got off. And my wife is not a big hockey fan. She just isn't. But she taught nearly the entire, quite, 2/3 of the team. So she knows the guys. Yeah. And so she's watching with me of the game. And again, I don't know if it was the strongest reaction you had, but it was pretty impressive to see that, and then to see the videos that would come out. And we had Larry on the show, Larry Knutson, of course, done Spud hockey forever. The reaction at the Drury Hotel, and you've got it in the book, of when people got the trophy, saw it, were overcome with emotion. That day and the next day when they came back, going back to what you talked about in the first segment of when they came back, it was 180 of the tears of joy now were out there for people.
Well, and I think that was one of the main reasons, to circle back to what we talked about. One of the reasons I thought we should do the book is because there I am, a musical theater, figure skating, speech mom of 2 girls. Didn't go to many hockey games, but I'm crying, and this is touching me because I remember all those times they came so close. Yep. And I had been to the tournament with friends in '95, long before I had kids, and they lost to Duluth East, And who was the guy that I kept hearing his name? Dave Spihar,
Yep.
I think was his name.
Yep.
I kept hearing his name. I'm like, oh, I just don't like that guy's name. He's probably a very nice man,
Yeah.
but he kept scoring, and But anyway, so I just think that if this touched me so deeply, there must be people that got up every morning to take their boys to hockey practice, and coaches and moms and dads and girls and everybody, that this meant the world to them. So I hope they see this as a celebration of everybody. We tried not to concentrate too much on one person, because this is about the program and how you all built it over there in Moorhead.
All right, a couple minutes left here.
Yep.
You've done some extensive stuff. You've done series work. Is this the most in-depth thing you've ever reported on, worked on?
Probably.
Yeah.
I've said that this project, this is the proudest I've been of something since I did the Honor Flight project.
Yes.
And Honor Flight
and
was
I remember that. That was
the
the first. I can remember you guys doing that. What year was that?
That was 2000 and end of 2006
Yes.
to
Okay,
2008.
so it was early when I was here.
And I was in radio.
How big a deal that was,
and it
because
was
we
just
sent a ton of
getting
people
started.
out there.
And we've done books with Honor Flight. So
Yep.
this is probably and I was obviously very proud of that. And this is second to that, probably.
Yep.
And I should mention, if you do want to get it, if you just want to order it online, that's still available. Probably the easiest thing to do is go to WDAY Deals. I know you may be, and so just go to.
That's where everybody can buy their DVDs for the state tournaments.
Right.
The book is available there. Yep.
Your listeners probably know that.
Yes.
So click
Yep.
on that. You'll see current deals, and it shows up under books.
Okay.
So click on that. You'll get it. I can't guarantee Christmas delivery unless you're really close in town here. But so stop
And if
on
you
by
can't,
the
just
forum.
go to the forum. You can see Laura, and you get everything taken care
or
of.
go to the
there.
game on the
Oh, you
23rd,
got
and
that
we will
too.
be there.
Are you excited to be done with it?
Yes, I am. Now it's kind of the fun part now. And, Brian and Kathy Langang, who works at Form Printing, she's a goddess, and we tell her she can never retire.
Yeah.
Now I said, we all just need to go out and have a little party, us and the spouses too,
Yeah.
because
It's a lot.
our poor spouses probably had to put up with a lot, and daughters that probably didn't have dinner made some nights because I'm still working on the book.
This was awesome.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and I'll text Brian as well
Yes.
to look through it. It's fantastic, and if anybody, even if you're not a hockey fan,
Right.
just to go back and look at the old stories, the photos especially are just fantastic from the 1960s and 70s. That really caught my attention. So
And huge credit. Let me just really say, Brian was a huge part.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he did about 75% of the work. He's just amazing. He's the Energizer Bunny, and I'm
He does,
so grateful
yes.
that he and I worked on this together.
congrats, and
Thank
have a great
you.
holiday.
You
It's great to see you
too.
both. Thanks for coming by, and happy 2026. All right.
Yes, you too.
Tracy Briggs joining us here in studio, forum reporter, part of one of the co-authors of Onward Moorhead, an illustrated history of MHS Spud Hockey, 1965 to 2025, available now at the forum and online as well. All right, we'll break. We come back. Well, time for our favorite Friday segment. We've got NFL picks with my dad. That's coming up when we come back right after this.
If you'd have went with a Boston, you'd have been living in the garage. I had a Yankee hat on, of course, which I usually almost always do, but she says to me, if I were you, I'd take that hat off. And I looked at what they had to look at to begin with. I ain't taking my hat off. I know where I am. Yeah, right.
You believe anything that guy says? Because I don't.
He said he was going to marry J-Lo, too, remember? Come on. I finally told your mom. I said, there's no sense. Let's just put TVs in the room because I'm only going to wake them up anyway. So
that's how I got a television?
All righty, we've reached that time of the week. Here it is, Friday morning, and Pops is with us here right before Christmas. What's going on? How we doing?
Good, my man. How are you?
Your iPad isn't working, so you're on the phone today, huh? What did you break?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's up. It just wouldn't. It's still trying to load.
All right,
well.
we're on the doorstep here.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, well, we're making it work. You can do it. So we're on the doorstep of the big man coming. What'd you ask for Santa for this year?
No snow.
You got a lot?
They got nothing but rain today.
Oh,
No,
all
the
right.
last 2 days it was 50 degrees, and we're supposed to get another storm this weekend. But
Oh, we take that here after we had
Whatever.
negative 20 here right now. We had a blizzard here yesterday. So
I see that.
not on top of that,
I see you
also, I missed the big news off the top of the show is that the little man lost another tooth yesterday even when I was gone. So you found out before I did on that.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. So
I told him he's only got 20 to go.
Did you make?
Go and he'll be all done.
Did you make it to the end of the game last night?
I'll tell you, I seen it go into overtime. I must have fallen asleep, and I woke up. The Rams had already scored.
Okay.
And then I seen the Seattle touchdown. Yeah, Darnold tried his best to lose that game.
He definitely
crazy.
tried. Yes,
that was definitely a good game.
That was game of the year so far. Seattle in the process.
The only thing I missed was the Rams touchdown in overtime,
which was Nakua again. So you saw that already because he had one other, but basically the same way earlier in the game. So there you go. So
yeah, I figured I'd have been him.
Well, the fact they decided to go for two was that was the big deal.
Well, why not go for two? You know, you can't. A tie ain't going to do them any good, probably. So
they would not have any of the tiebreakers. That's why they wanted to do it, because if they had tied or lost, obviously the Rams still had the driver's seat. So that's why they decided to go for two, and obviously that worked out.
Yeah. Well, looks like San Francisco is going to sneak in there now.
Well, the 49ers, I mentioned this earlier, they control their own destiny because they play the Seahawks the last game. So if they win their last two, they'll be number one and move Seattle and the Rams down, which is crazy. That division is what the NFC North was last year when the Packers, the Vikings, and the Lions all made it. The NFC West has got it this year.
I'm sure they'll flex that on a Sunday night.
Maybe. It might be your boys because you play the Ravens the last game of the year. That might be for the division. So,
that'd be awesome, too.
I know how much you love Baltimore. So, all right, before we go, got to talk about what happened yesterday because I texted you this, and this is a really somber story for people in following what happened with the plane crash in North Carolina. That Greg Biffle, great NASCAR driver, died. He and his family died in a plane crash yesterday. Awful story.
Just terrible situation for sure. I mean, geez.
And you told me he's a pilot as well, right? He has his own plane.
Yes, but he was not flying the plane. Okay. He had a hired pilot, but he did a lot of helicopter work with the floods and all that. He was just, even though they told him not to, he still went and done it, and just terrible.
How many of those guys have their own planes? Quite a few, right?
Oh. They don't always pilot them.
Yeah.
But they all have. They don't drive to a racetrack.
Yeah,
believe me.
right, correct. They're not in the hauler with the guys, right? They're not sitting up front. That's not how they get from race to race. No way.
They all have professional drivers for the haulers, and they all have professional drivers for their motorhomes. They just show up at the track,
It's just like golfers. Golfers all have their own private plane. They're not driving to the golf course to a PGA Tour event. They fly there on their own plane.
Right. Most of them, that's in their contracts. that the owner supplies the plane, everything, the motorhome, the whole works.
That's a crazy deal.
Yeah.
Terrible story there yesterday. Saw that come down, and I obviously texted Dad about what went down. So
just heartbreaking.
Yes, it is. Especially, there's no obviously good time for it, but how close it is to the holiday, just awful deal there. So all right, no transition here. So shall we do some? How'd you do last week? What would you make out?
Speaking of NASCAR, I told you Michael Jordan was going to turn that upside down, and he did. Yes, he did.
Yeah, I told you. Yeah, well, you mentioned that. So we talked about it last week.
He definitely helped them all out.
So is this the tip of the iceberg? Then there's more change coming, is what you're saying?
Oh yeah, there's going to be a lot of change coming now, but it's all for the good for both of them. So that's you gotta all the other sports share it. You gotta share it. So
baseball doesn't share. That's why they're going to go to strike here. That's
come on, you gotta you just can't be money mongers and take it all. But
all right, should we do some picks?
Yes, 10-6 last week.
10-6. All right.
That's straight up. I did lose a couple on points. I think I had one tie, but straight up was 10-6.
Well, if you tie, you lose. Correct? The house wins on a tie. No.
No, at the casino, but not here. Now, if you're betting a parlay and you tie, they just take it off.
I guess I didn't know that. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, that's why they do it a half points a lot, so you can't tie.
All right, you got 2 games. Don't forget, you got 2 games tomorrow, both on Fox tomorrow, because we got about 8 games going tomorrow in college and pro. The Eagles are at the Commanders. They thought this was going to be a good game when they scheduled it. Now Washington stinks. Philadelphia is a 7-point favorite on the road tomorrow. Uh-oh, Dad froze. I'll assume he's taking Philadelphia -7 in that one. I would as well against the Commanders. We'll see. Hopefully we can get them back here. Packers at the Bears tomorrow night. Temperature is right now, it says about 38 degrees for that one in Chicago. Green Bay is a 1.5 underdog there, although I believe they said Matt LaFleur yesterday said Christian Watson likely going to play. We'll see. Let's take the Packers. Green Bay's going to win that game. I don't think Chicago still not convinced on the Bears offensively there. I'll take Green Bay plus 1.5. All right, Dad's trying to connect again, so we'll see. Hopefully we can get him back. The list of games on Sunday, the early games, Jets Saints is not attractive at all. Bills Browns, gross. Chargers Cowboys is okay, although Dallas we know now is kind of out of it. Chiefs Titans is a bad game. I mean, that tell me about that. The Kansas City Tennessee game, that might be the smallest audience the Chiefs have had in, 10 years for a football game. A, because they're out of it, and B, they're playing a team that's won 2 games. Bengals Dolphins bad. Vikings Giants not good. The Tampa Bay Carolina game might be the best game we have on the calendar there to start for that opening window of games. When you think about it, rest of the games there we just went through the afternoon games, late afternoon. Atlanta facing off with Arizona. You've got Pittsburgh and Detroit. Raiders Texans. Sorry, I got to text him here to see if he can get back in. Let's see here. Okay. Hopefully we can get him back. Steelers Lions is obviously the big one in the late window. For some reason, they put Raiders Texans there as well because they got to have a late game on CBS, even though Pittsburgh and Detroit is going to be what everybody gets. Sunday night, you got New England and Baltimore, which is a really good game. Obviously, the Ravens have to win now with Pittsburgh in the driver's seat. In the Monday night game, which we chatted about with Sam yesterday, with San Fran and Indianapolis, ought to be pretty good as well. He must be having internet issues. He was talking about that before he came on. So let's go through. We know who we're going to pick for the Jets-Saints game. New Orleans is a 6-point home favorite. The Saints haven't been favored by 6 at all this season. They're giving 6 to the Jets. Give me the Jets with my guy Brady Cook starting again at quarterback. 2 teams combined to win 7 games there. Bills at the Browns. Bills are a 10.5-point favorite. That's going to be a lot to a little there. Buffalo is humming after their win over New England. Give me the Bills. And a big win over Cleveland. Chargers at the Cowboys. Now, here's the Chargers now. They finally have slayed the giant. That is Kansas City. Denver is running away with the division. Chargers, though, are going to be a sleeper team in the AFC. They're going to win. Dallas is favored. Explain that to me. The Cowboys they can't stop a nosebleed, and they're favored at home against the Chargers. I'll take LA in the points in that one. Kansas City is only a 3-point favorite against the Titans. Of course, Gardner Minshew is starting for Kansas City in that game. We'll take the Chiefs because the Titans they can't get out of their own way. Bengals and the Dolphins. The Dolphins have benched Tua. So it's all on Quinn Ewers is starting for Miami in that game. That's ugly. I'll take Cincinnati plus minus 4.5 against the Dolphins in that one. Vikes, Giants. I'm on the JJ bandwagon again. I think they win this one. This is the stretch here where they're playing Washington, Dallas, the Giants here. They'll play the NFC East and racking up wins. They'll get that one. Vikes are a 2.5-point favored on that one. It looks like he can't connect, so we're going to have to go through these picks quick here. You got it with my dad. Anyway, Tampa -3 against Carolina. Let's take Tampa in that one. Jacksonville and Denver. Denver's is a 3-point. That's a good game. Give me Jacksonville +3 in that one. Atlanta and Arizona, sorry. Give me Atlanta. That's a bad game. Steelers, Lions. Lions are a 7-point home favorite there. Give me Pittsburgh +7 just for Dad. Houston's -14.5 against the Raiders. We'll take the Texans. I still think they cover. Patriots, Ravens. Give me New England +3 against Baltimore. And on Monday night, 49ers, Colts. We'll get San Francisco -5.5 against Indianapolis. I'm sorry on that, but some technology sometimes betrays us on that one. He said, my internet is all messed up, blue lights flashing all over. That doesn't sound good. We'll have him next week on our Christmas show to give us picks for that. There you go. We had some time with my pops, though, as well. When we come back, some breaking Bison football news we got to share with you, and we'll wrap up the show right after this. All right, wrapping things up. My pops is here we go, Eric. I got all of his picks. So he actually took the Jets. I'm not kidding. I'm looking at it here. So I'll submit these to Eric so he's got them. But shortened segment there with my dad today. All right, we got some news to get to here before we get to what to watch. Ironically enough, West Fargo's Matt Strom, who was drafted forever ago by the Kansas City Royals, who made his debut with the Kansas City Royals, is heading back to the Kansas City Royals. MLB.com reporting the Royals are acquiring Matt Strom from the Phillies for right-handed pitcher Jonathan Bolin, according to MLB's Mark Feinsand. So Matt Strom is going back to where it all began in Kansas City. Remember, the Royals had him as a starter way back when. He was a starter and then moved into his role, which has been an all-star reliever, and became a dynamite player with the Phillies. So he is heading back to Kansas City. Now, we started our show, we were talking about the potential moves in the portal or returning players. Griffin Empey was one that started our show. Well, since we've been on the air, this run it back theme has continued. We're going to scroll here on the amount of guys from North Dakota State that have announced they're coming back. That's a biggie right there. Jackson Williams, young man from Omaha, Nebraska, decided he's coming back for next season. You've got a couple others let's get to. Nathan Hayes, obviously, is decided. He will be back. He will be the starting quarterback for this football team next season. Here's a biggie. Elijah Wayne. He'll be a sophomore defensive tackle. That's a guy that I'm not sure if he's getting attention yet. He would be back for next season. Here's a monster one. Keenan Wilson announcing he's going to return. He'll be a junior next year at D tackle. He paired up with Elijah Wayne and Logan Larson. Think about that trio for the Bison in the middle of their defense. That's a biggie. I know for sure that Keenan was being targeted in the portal. He will return. We mentioned Griffin Empey is coming back. There's one other name out there that you should know. Donovan Woolen has announced he is returning as well. So if I'm doing my top 15, I'd say 9 of those guys have now made it official they're returning. And there's a bunch of others. Zach Vanderpool announced he's coming back. That's a big deal. Makai Collins has announced. We'll have the full details on this on Inforum when we later today. But some of the big names are coming back for Bison football. That might make for a Merry Christmas for Tim Polasek. Let's do some what to watch before we get out of here. All right, we got to hustle. We got Game of the Week tonight. Davie-Shanley doubleheader starts at 5:30 here on WDAY Extra with boys and girls hoops. Boys to start. Also coming up tonight, Thunder and the Wolves on Amazon Prime. Alabama and Oklahoma to start the CFP. Good basketball game tonight, Wisconsin and Villanova on Fox. Tomorrow, we got Spud Hockey for you. Don't forget, 3 o'clock on Extra as they take on Minnetonka. And also, we got Brawl the Wild, the Super Brawl tomorrow on WDAY. That's at 3. JMU and Oregon at 6:30. Vikes and the Giants at noon. Our thanks today to Gage Gilbert, to Tracy Briggs, and, of course, to my dad. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you back here on Monday.